Can we talk about the Kobe Memorial, which you hosted? That whole, which now that seems like that was a million years ago, and you think about how distraught, destroyed LA was there for 4 or 5 weeks.
Isn't it crazy? Yeah.
So you get asked to host that, and then how does that like how many days before the memorial service do you know you're doing it, and who asked you to do it?
Vanessa asked me to do it through the Lakers, through Linda Rambus. I said yes immediately. Not until the day before did I realize it was going to be on television
Oh, really?
because I don't read the entirety of emails sometimes. And somebody said like, "Hey, do you want to, send the grooming along?" I was like, "No, I don't need it." And they're like, "Well, it's going to be on TV." I said, "Oh, really?" I didn't know that, but I didn't know it was going to be on TV, and it was very moving. And I think just seeing his kids sitting there was really that was tough. Seeing his wife and kids standing on the stage and looking at them was very difficult.
I was it was something that never occurred to me, but he was on your show, what, 18 you did the memorial show for him, and he was on the show, I think 18 times or 17 times? Something like that?
17 times on our show, and then there were many other events in which I interviewed him or did things with him outside of the show.
Yeah, because when you think about it, you launched the show January 2003. They're still the three-time defending champs at that point, and then he plays for another 13 years, but I remember out of all the appearances he had, I remember the one of the years he won when he brought Adam Morrison on.
Oh yeah.
Remember that? And everybody just started kinda making fun of Adam Morrison and his reactions, but he had all his teammates out there, and he really was like the dad. It wasn't like a team, it was like watching a dad with his 12 sons, and all of them were like, weren't sure when to speak, and Kobe was just orchestrating everything. It was really interesting.
Yeah, he and Derek Fisher were the seniors, and it was like
Yeah,
everyone else was freshmen.
yeah.
And yeah, he was clearly the center of the team, not just on the court, but personality wise.
When did you Yeah.
Yeah, Morrison. It's fun when you get a group of players like that. And first of all, they're all in a great mood. But when you hit on something that, or especially you hit on a person that they've been making fun of the whole year long, and it just suddenly rings a bell with them, and they all start dying laughing, and that's
Right.
basically what happened to poor Adam Morrison.
Well, you were the first person who fully realized how funny Shaq was, because Shaq was still, he was trying to do Kazam, he was trying to be a rapper, he was trying to be like a spokesman, and it wasn't totally hitting. Like he definitely had a personality, but it was hard to really totally see what it was. And I remember when I got to know you, and you were like, Shaq is the funniest fucking guy. He offered you did a roast, and he offered his cousin $50,000 to take a shit in the stage.
Not only that, he offered his cousin $250,000 to shit on the stage while he was a guest on Letterman. No, you know what? The 50,000 was for the Queen Latifah show. He was a guest
Oh,
on the Queen. I noticed something about him because I saw something where he was on video goofing around. I was like, wow, he seems to have a good personality. And then I'd see him in interviews, and he's always like this,
right.
and I figured it out. I said, oh, I know what this is. He doesn't want to be Charles Barkley, where everyone gathers around him, quote, on any subject. He doesn't want to spend his whole life talking to these guys. So he's learned that if he gives them nothing, it's kind of like when you walk out of a restaurant half drunk and the cameras from TMZ are there. You could say like, "Hey, leave me alone, guys," or you could just not say anything.
Right.
If you don't say anything, they don't really have anything to show. So you keep quiet. I think that was Shaq's philosophy. And then over the years, when suddenly basketball wasn't his primary thing anymore, he revealed himself to be. But he's hilarious. I mean, I went into a hotel with Shaq once across the street. We're doing some prank on somebody, and the two of us are walking through the hotel, the one right across the street from the show. And people were like, "Oh my God, what?" Of course, you can't miss him. And he told everyone that he just bought the hotel, and all the employees were like, "Oh my God, this is great." He's well, and they're introducing themselves and their positions to him. I also drove him over there, and at the time, I had like a BMW SUV, and a decent sized car, but he couldn't fit in the front seat. He had to lay across the back seat. So I drove like I was his
Wow.
chauffeur.
Yeah, I remember you telling me he was funny and not believing it because of what you said about how he would go on autopilot in these interviews, but since then, he's talked about it, and it was the reason you said. It's like the Bill Belichick thing, where you're just like, "I'm just gonna not give you guys anything," and you kind of eventually, everybody just gives up, and then your life is peaceful from that point on with the press. It is really smart. I forgot to ask you about Shaq. Were you surprised that the Shaq Kobe thing, that Shaq had that much affection for Kobe? Because it didn't seem like they talked that much, but it seemed like they had such a bond. I just didn't really know about that as much as it came out.
Well, you know how that goes. You don't have to talk to somebody that much, especially with somebody you know for a long time, to have a bond. And I also think that when deep down you do like someone or love someone, but a lot of your relationship is contentious, that it can hit you pretty hard when you realize, like, oh, there's nothing I can do now to make that
Right.
right.
Can't fix it.
But one of the most fun things to watch was when they sat down and talked to each other.
Oh, and NBA TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that was just fascinating.
Well, I remember you hosted one something for Kobe. It was at that little place next to the Staples. You had a night with Kobe Bryant. I'm gonna say it was like 2012 or 13, and that was right around the time when Kobe was really trying to. I think he was more conscious of his legacy than maybe he was earlier in his thing, and he was really trying to reach out and become more of a personality and connect with people in a bunch of different ways. And I remember I went to that to see you guys and hung out with him, and he just seemed like he was really at peace with whoever he ended up being in the 2013 range. And I think that happened to Shaq too along the way. I think Shaq always had, he was always a famous dude. He was always great at what he did. But I watched Shaq the last 10 years, like he's one of the biggest spokesmen we have. I don't know if I ever would have predicted that. And he's actually really good on the Inside the NBA show now. You know,
I bet his Q score, that thing they do where they
Oh,
measure,
it's gotta be huge.
he's got to be right up there with Oprah.
Oh, yeah. Like, if somebody said, "I fucking hate Shaq," you'd be like, "What?" Like, you'd be, like, completely stunned.